what the decision is. Talking about that, I remember they had a Twist of Fate Shen combo against, I think it was actually Dignitas, where Velocity was shut down with 2 globals on
Yeah.
board. We do see Kale has immediately been banned out. The staples of Elise and Jason Evelyn, so Crystal Ball is correct.
Yeah, and they got the Evelyn, so with the 2 focus bans at Violet Rose, they used a 3rd one to take away the most annoying jungler that NK Inc. has to offer. So GG or Big Fat LP will still be able to wear that cape you're talking about.
Most annoying jungler NA. So Rumble and Kale were on the short list. We do see that Nunu has instantly been locked in, and even with some of the changes, interesting, he's no longer like insta-ban material, but now we're seeing him being played.
I think that cape's got to be made out of like Nunu's pelt though, or Willem's pelts.
Well, it depends if he wins or loses. Because if not, it'll have to be his opponent's jungler's skin, I imagine.
And it's interesting that we just saw Nunu played last game because of the nerfs in 3.9 that we talked about. They let him through the ban phase, but we didn't even have Xmithy counter jungling all that often, and he did more focus on the lanes because they were just easy ganks that were showing up for him. So we'll have to see how Big Fat LP plays this one, because he is definitely known for making a lot of ganks early and trying to get his lanes going very early.
Some very quick lock-ins here for CLG. The Tristana Sona lane for their duo. Over on the other side, Velocity once again, they're going to be getting that Shen. So Vyro Shen, or do you think Jungle Shen?
It really could go either. I think it's probably a Vile Rose Shen, because the 2 main champions that he plays were banned out, and Shen's a fairly safe champion to stick anybody on up in that top lane, as long as you're able to sustain and then hold your own in that lane. When you hit level 6, you'll have an instant impact. But meanwhile, CLG, I really want to talk about this, is very, very similar to what we just saw from Vulcan here. They've got the Sona and the Nunu, and then Tristana is just a variation on the end game carry there. So they've got the doubles, basically support slash tanks here, tacked on to an end game Tristana. It's looking very, very scary here for CLG.
So we'll see if Velocity, maybe get panicky, get nervous about that composition, thinking that maybe they're going to have to deal with the double ADs. They've got that Orianna, they've got that Varus locked in. So leaving the last laner, the last champion, probably either top or jungle, a safe pick in that mid laner.
Yeah, and Orianna actually can be played by Vile Rose too, so they could switch that one up if they really wanted to. But they could just land that on Echo, as we've finally seen the Aurelia lock in, which is definitely, it's one that we haven't seen in a while, but he's been outspoken. Yen's been very outspoken about how much he likes this champion, and he just asked his team last week if he could play it. They let him have it, and he got the win. So basically, he's got the green card on Aurelia to be able to play her until they lose a match with her.
It's a very similar composition. Like you said, double ADs. You've got that sort of tanky front line in Nunu and Aurelia. Not as much utility as Zac is going to be offering, with his knockups and his slows, but maybe a little bit more chasing and killing potential with blade surges and all that true damage.
We'll have to see how this variation on the Vulcan comp that they just ran last game works out, because like you said, Ezreal locked in as well. Double supports, double ADs, and then they've got more of a dive champion up in the top lane here. Not quite as tanky, Aurelia, not quite as tanky as Zac, but she does basically a similar thing where they're going to have her dive in and create the chaos in the back lines there. She does have a good amount of sustain with her Transcendent Blades. Yeah. Once she gets her ulti.
Yeah, once she gets her ulti up. But on the other side, we do see Lee Sin was locked in once again. Crumbs was unable to really get any snowball rolling at all in the previous matchup. NK Inc. hoping to have a slightly different run of it. This game, it's pretty important. Both teams, they're tied 1-1 in terms of the series. This is the 3rd game. And like we said, Double Lift very outspoken during their last engagement. He'll be looking to secure another win.
It's very scary here for Velocity, because we saw extremely similar compositions played in last game, so it's kind of Twilight Zone here, and we'll have to see if CLG can actually pull off this comp the same way that Vulcan did and just trash Velocity, I guess is the word that they
if Big
what
Fat
happened
LP,
to them last game?
If Big Fat LP can channel his inner Xmithy from the previous game, I'm sure maybe they can make something work. We do have a very quick pause here as the game is loading up, so we'll let you know exactly what's happening in just a moment. But nothing too exciting off the bat in terms of itemization.
I do like the Doran shields that are becoming more popular among the top laners, because especially if you go into a 2v1 lane, a lot of the damage actually does come from basic attacks, both from the AD carry and the support. Good supports, like we saw Zyra and Sona both, they love to get off a lot of auto attacks in that lane phase, and the shield actually reduces so much damage. That combined with the reduced cost makes it a very effective item for those 2v1 lanes.
And you can't forget about the sustain as well, which also plays into the favor. So I do see that Irelia has started. The unpause has come in, so we should be jumping back into this matchup. Just to remind everybody, it is Counter Logic Gaming taking on Velocity Esports for the third time this split. And we're going to see this double AD composition. It's actually the third time for the day, because Evil Geniuses ran it over in against Fnatic over in EU, and we've seen it twice in the NA matches already, and it's been very successful so far, to say the least.
Looks like we have some very defensive postures coming out from both teams. Not a surprise here. Again, just like we said last game, anytime Nunu's in, you want to make sure that you at least equal your opponent's vision in the early game, because the danger of those steals are always there.
We do see NK Inc. at least just playing a human ward. Throws out that sonic wave, at least just deters the CLG invasion. In terms of the low-level power, nobody wants to get caught by that death sentence.
It's just rerouted the CLG invasion. They're not giving up on it. And Evaniscus actually in the Dragon Pit means he's out of... Oh, they can't capitalize.
Oh, so close. If CLG had just been a couple of seconds quicker, they may have been able to close in and trap him in there. But nevertheless, now, once again, they're backing off, playing it fairly safe. But CLG definitely, they want to do something. They want to push.
They've given up pretty much in positioning for the entire team, though. With that ward that Evaniscus was able to place in the very difficult tri-bush there. So Velocity were able to stall the early game, and there was no very deep wards placed by Counter Logic. So if Big Fat LP goes for the invade and tries to steal one of these buffs, he's going to be going in blind, and that is very dangerous right now. So we'll probably see, similar to last game, fairly inconsequential both double buff spawns.
So both teams starting off on their respective red buffs. Does look like we're going to have straight up matchups once again. 1v1 as well as the 2v2s down in that bottom lane. NK Inc. going to get some assistance there from Vilerose. Vilerose on his Shen running Flash Ignite, so playing a little bit aggressive. There's actually 3 Ignites over on the side of Velocity Esports, so definitely signaling an intent to look for kills in this early game.
And they don't have exhausts for Aurelia or for either AD carry. That's really big for the late game. So not only are CLG running this late game comp, but there's not that exhaust speed reduction for Velocity if they do get into a pinch. So that's very dangerous for them.
And similar to the previous game, we do see Link going very aggressive with that mid lane Ezreal and dropping Echo down to 50% HP. So just the power of that AD in mid really plays into your favor.
It's interesting that we usually hear top laners often talking about it's all about the pushing the wave early and who can grab that level 2 first. It's the same idea when you have an all-in mid like Ezreal. As soon as he gets level 2, can arcane shift forward and make you pay for that level discrepancy. So that was all brought about by Link's pushing this lane, which opens him up to ganks that he's not going to have to worry about because Lee Sin's bot.
NK Inc. looking on the bottom lane, trying to set something up, but Maple Street and Evaniscus, they've pushed that wave up just a little bit. He's still hanging around. Big Fat LP is going to play brave. Death Sentence does land. They pull double lift in. The Flay goes backwards, but he manages to get away thanks to the rocket jump. Down on the bottom lane, Chalster forced to flash, but Ignite was burned.
That was nice. They at least got the flash out of Chalster there, and that makes Sona extremely vulnerable. Because there's a pink ward in this tri-bush, we could see a repeat gank from NK Inc. And if they are able to return before Chaster's able to buy any HP, Sona, one of the lowest HP characters in the game, could go down very quickly.
Yeah, Evaniscus will definitely be looking to land that death sentence onto Sona, and he should close it out. We do see Big Fat LP. He's snuck himself up towards this top lane, approaching the 4-minute mark, and he hasn't been a nuisance just yet, but he does have double buffs up, level 4, and he's still playing very patiently.
So he was actually able to steal out the blue Wraith, which is huge too, before making his way top for this gank.
So Ice Blast goes down, that Shen that's been slowed, he flash taunted away, Blade Surge comes up, they're going to tower dive, this Big Fat LP's got all the HP, he tanks up a couple double turret shots, and they get away. First blood on Irelia.
Yeah, able to tank that turret because he does have that golem neutral buff that you get when you consume any golem type monster, giving him the extra HP to soak up those early tower hits.
So played into his favor. That's first gank successful for Big Fat LP and Nunu. NK Inc. is moving up here to actually, what looks like, cover the lane, but push it a little bit as well, because it is pushing against Niantanso's Irelia, and he's just trying to soak up some experience, some levels, and some gold.
This is going to make it even harder for Vile Rose. So CLG's idea of putting the pressure on the new guy who switched lanes is working out completely. They got him on a champion he's not used to, and they first ganked top, giving him the first blood, plus the lane pushing in Nian's favor means that Vile Rose is going to have to continue to stay overextended, and he's going to have to be worried about repeat aggression from Irelia.
And we'll have to see whether or not Big Fat decides to spend some more time there, knowing that that flash and that ignite is down. We've seen Nick Smithy in the previous game doing very successful ganks once he was aware that those summoner spells had been blown. Down in the bottom lane, Double Lift and Chowster farming their way up. After that early game pressure though, Double Lift is 10 CS behind, and his opponent has gone triple Doran's Blade. It's something we've seen Genja do a couple times.
I was going to say, we're looking at a Genja build over here. Usually on champions that scale really, really well with just straight AD, like going triple Dorans into those Bloodthirsters just to take advantage of the ratios here. But we're going to have Varus Maple Street is just trying to extend this lead that he has, the CS lead. He's trying to turn that into tangible results. So just a few CS doesn't actually mean much in lane if you don't spend it on something very quickly, and he's decided to go with that bullying potential of an extra blade.
And we do see that after that little bit of an item advantage, NK Inc. has moved his way into that bottom lane. Niantanso with a 2-level advantage is just shutting down Shen. That's 6 versus 4. Does burn his Transcendent Blades, but it is on a short enough cooldown, so it's not the end of the world.
There's the early game coming to fruition like we just talked about. And Big Fat LP, not only did he get this lane going in the right direction for his team early, but he's made a repeat visit up to this top lane.
So we'll see if we can set up any more kills. That flash is still not available. Vile Rose is going to be able to at least taunt up Niantanso. Level 5, Big Fat is moving in position. Does have his Ice Blast available, and you can actually see that Link is making his way up here as well. This is a very aggressive play.
They want to dive this one. There's 5 more seconds on that taunt. 3, 2, 1.
It's not going to be enough. He's going to be able to get away for the time being. Here comes Israel, and King's been able to respond. Vile Rose surviving the 3-man dive, but he was able to back away quickly enough.
Yeah, it's just very close on that cooldown. Now, they're going to be in a 3 versus 2 situation, though, and CLG have the position on the turret. They're not letting Velocity get back to the turret to help defend it at all. So this entire minion wave is being denied from the team Velocity, and they're keeping this Shen at level 4.
Massive experience advantage, denying the chances of that Stand United coming in there. Vile Rose forced to actually help out in the jungle. Ooh. Big Fat LP is going to join this party now. Does have his Ignite up, but his Smite, but he was too late to steal that one away.
He really wanted to get in there for the flash consume Smite, but just a little bit too late. Doesn't matter though, he's made his presence felt. By stealing away that early blue Wraith and the giant double golem, he took away a lot of NK Inc.'s experience as well, and he's actually one of the reasons that NK was shoving that top lane there when Vile Rose was gone, because there was nothing left in his jungle for him. Nunu definitely having a very big effect on this game.
And something that we're seeing, a slightly different impact in this particular matchup. Big Fat actually maybe not ganking as much as we have been seeing in some of his more recent games, spending a little bit more time in the jungle and in his opponent's jungle actually, but it is paying out. True Shot Barrage, very cheeky, and that was blind as well. Not this time.
Yeah, we have seen Link on Ezreal before, earlier in the spring split though, and he was able to steal dragons with just Mystic Shots. So, a good attempt from him. He knew that the blue buff was up and they were trying to give it to Orianna because the timers come back around and because he saw Orianna leaving lane.
So it does at least have his spidey senses on. Going to be able to try steal that one away. In terms of CS, we are seeing a massive deficit here. Maple Street, 81 creeps ahead of Double Lift, but it is Tristana that he's playing on, so you expect to be a little bit behind during the laning phase.
Yeah, but that is a lot behind, and this is Maple Street's triple Doran's Blade bully build coming out here.
So we'll see if this works out for them. Big Fat LP he was maybe thinking of a gank and then just decided to run straight into the lane and start help pushing. If they do decide to stick to towers, Tristana, with her rapid fire and blood boil, should be able to shred through them very, very quickly.
Yeah, Big Fat LP trying to show up down bottom and allow them to free farm one more wave. This is the only lane for CLG that's actually behind, though. The other two lanes are doing great. We've even had Link on the Ezreal being able to farm the Wraiths because Nunu, this gank in top is going to be trouble for Nien if he does overextend and go aggressive. But if he saves his cooldown, so he should be okay.
2 levels behind both of his opponents. He manages to stun up Chen and just starts walking away. Sonic Wave lands, but he doesn't burn anything. Still got his ultimate, still got Ignite and Ghost.
Yeah, saves his cooldowns right there, so he's definitely fine. Aurelia does get tenacity for every member of the opposing team that's near him.
So isn't going to be held in place for too long. He's going to be able to come back up. The first tower to fall is actually in the bottom lane, thanks to all of that pressure of that triple Doran's Varus, really making Double Lift and Chauster struggle in that lane. However, Double Lift just picked himself up a BF sword, so that'll now counterbalance some of this damage deficit that he's going to make up.
So they've given up this bottom turret, and usually we would see teams at this early stage in the game, they could opt for freezing that lane in order to build up a giant minion wave for themselves. But since Double Lift is on Tristana, the explosive shot takes away that option from them. She automatically pushes whenever she last hits a creep. It does extra AoE damage, and they're going to continuously push this lane back.
So we'll see how well he can farm. NK diving forward, got a 3-level difference in the end. 95 CS to his opponent's 43. Vile Rose is struggling in his first game now as a top laner, and it all stems from that very first kill.
Because of the tower taken bottom, though, we have Thresh actually coming up to join this and making it a 3 versus 2.
So Nien is going to take a lot of damage. Evaniscus has moved forward, flash forward, lands the death sentence on Nien, pulls him back. Flay is used, the Dragon's Rage knocks him through one of the walls, and that's a 3-man kill onto Nien's Aurelia.
And the bottom lane making their presence felt not only up top, but in the middle as well. Maple Street going over to help push that mid turret.
So well played by Velocity to pick up their first kill of the game. They keep themselves within 100 gold. Down in the bottom lane, Double Lift is pushing the towers in the mid. Link is trying to put a lot of pressure down onto Echo's Orianna, forcing him back, but he's still farming well, so that is playing into his favor.
And this is going to be hard for Echo to actually hold this lane. Big Fat LP, though, getting very dangerously low up in top.
Gets caught out by the taunt, flashes away. Now the tower pressure is all over the map here. It looks like they're going to just trade towers.
The top for the middle is actually a really good trade for CLG because they're the team with the Nunu. So that opens up both the buffs to them. If they can get wards inside the red and blue buff here of Velocity at this point, it would be a huge benefit to them. Chauster, though, doesn't have any wards on him, so they're going to have to go back to base first if they want to get that advantage.
All eyes in the minimap for when they do pick those wards up, because once you do have that Nunu involved, as well as Link playing that, Ezreal in the mid lane, stealing buffs and objectives is always a possibility. Thanks to picking up that tower, CLG have now got numbers and position for this dragon, and it looks like they're going to be able to pick this one up.
Velocity a little bit too far out here, and they're going to be able to snag that dragon. You can't steal it away from Nunu there. The combo is too strong. So
well played by CLG. They maintain an actual gold lead over their opponents because that dragon and that CS advantage that they have built up overall is actually working in their favor.
Even though they are down in turrets, they're going to be down another turret here.
So Velocity just managed to catch CLG out of position. They stacked up in the mid lane, 3 of them pick it up, but Niantonso wants to now apply pressure on this top lane, and he should be able to pick it up. It's a bit weird. Both teams are just trading objectives without really fighting for them.
Yeah, it wasn't actually catching CLG out of position. It was CLG being low from doing that dragon. They didn't have the health bars to contest that mid lane, and they had to give it up. So good job by Nian making an answer and pushing that top lane.
So they're sitting on 2 towers for CLG to the 3 for Velocity, approaching 14 minutes on the clock. And Niantonso now moving towards this red buff. He's going to manage to find NK Inc. out. He's level 8, but decides not to go aggressive and hasn't been spotted yet. NK is well aware that he's there.
Now we can actually have Velocity effectively freeze the top lane if they felt like it, because they have a Shen. So Shen freezing a lane doesn't give the other team an advantage like freezing a lane usually does, because he can join the rest of his team in the event of a team fight if necessary. Stand United is available, and Velocity actually do have to think about making their next move. There's just not an objective for them to force it out right now. So that's why they've sort of stalled at this point in the game.
Yeah, neither team really making a massive big play in terms of objectives or fights, just slowly working the way around. Nian's going to pick a fight here with
Nian going the wrong way.
Gets taunted up, he's locked down in place. He's going to be able to get that Equilibrium Strike out, going to carry on running. Does have Ghost as well as those Transcendent Blades available. Going to find the support to Big Fat. That's going to be enough for him to get away.
Nian's really just been taking the damage as he walks away, not able to keep Aurelia in place because of that passive that we talked about earlier. And the healing from the Transcendent Blades is substantial, and enough to keep her up, at least, under the combo damage of Shen and Lee Sin.
And in terms of itemization, picked up that Blade of the Rune King as the first major purchase. So with the, you've got Ezreal, you've got Tristana, now you've got Aurelia that's dealing literally tons of damage.
Well, it does give her another escape, too. You can use the activation as a disengage by speeding yourself up and slowing your opponents. It allows Aurelia to effectively be a duelist and continually push this top lane, as you can see him doing. Now that he actually has his summoners up, he can bully Shen because he has that percentage health damage, and he can just take it right to him, continually shove this top lane while the rest of his team makes the action happen bottom.
Yeah, you've seen Link trying to get some positioning behind Maple Street and Evanis, because Maple Street, his CS advantage has been closed thanks to that tower going down, but he's got himself a
And Velocity are in position right now. They should take this move. This is the opportunity for them to force a 4 versus 5 fight. Aurelia can't join the fight like Shen can. There's the hook. This is perfect for them.
The death sentence lands, play goes backwards, the box is immediately up, but a crescendo locks up 3 members of Velocity. CLG are on the retreat, but you cannot run away from the chain of corruption. They are stalled, they locked up. Link throws out the True Shot barrage, but that went the wrong way, man. They're slowing down Inkink as best as they can. Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot, trying to kite. Double kill picked up for Echo, and Arcane shift away, and CLG lose 3 members in the bottom lane.
That was just Link fumbling his fingers a little bit. He wanted to Arcane shift away and then barrage towards the team, but clicked a little bit too early. That was exactly the move Velocity need to make. Very, very nice job taking advantage of the Shen stand united, and Nian was not even able to answer up in that top turret with his alone time there. Now it's up to Link to single-handedly defend this one.
He's doing a lot of damage down onto NK. He's trying to clear out the minion wave, but he's going to be able to at least defend the tower. So Velocity not able to secure a map objective, but 3 kills is definitely going to work out for them.
Nian, though, still stronger than Val Rose, so he can keep his positioning up in this top lane and bully Val Rose. NK just going to be a little bit annoyed by that one. Won't take his life.
Very close to take him out. Luckily that Iron Will's shield was actually, Safeguard shield was able to prevent that last tick of damage. CLG, once again, regrouping. It definitely looks like they want this tower. They've stacked up a couple of numbers and they carry on putting the pressure down.
Well, Velocity's trick, their ace in the hole, their ace up their sleeve, whatever you want to call it, is now down. So CLG have blown that basically... well, the Sten Shen United, excuse me, I'll just say it. They've owned that cooldown, so now they can go free. They can be free to take down that turret.
Up until the cooldown is available, Velocity look to make a play happen. This is something that is very good to see out of the team. When they did lose last week to Dignitas, they didn't make enough big plays happen. They were simply reacting too often. And it happened to Dignitas in the previous matchup, so we'll see if they can keep this level of aggression up.
Yeah, and remember that even though Velocity pulled off their 5 versus 4 engage right there, still behind in gold for CLG. So CLG haven't lost control of this game. That was just a window of hope here for Velocity.
Something that they'll definitely be trying to reopen as this game goes further forward. Last Whisper completed to back up that Mana Immune for Ezreal. You see both of our AD carries of Double Lift Tristana and Maple Street's Varus with their Infinity Edges completed as well. But still that extra Dawn's Blade. Maple Street he'll need some real estate as far as his inventory is concerned soon enough.
Yeah, he would like to get some extra crit chance and attack speed, so either the Phantom Dancer or that Static Shiv to go with his Infinity Edge. The Infinity Edge really just pays off when you get more crit chance to take advantage of that extra 250% here. Meanwhile, Double Lift hasn't maxed his rapid fire either, so he's in need of attack speed as well. The Blood Boil right now on Link is going to be going to him in the team fights.
So right now, Dragon has respawned. CLG going to try their best to get this one. They secure the Dragon. NKInk kicks Big Fat LP backwards. He's caught by the death sentence. Channels at absolute zero. Gets immediately interrupted. Velocity pick up 1 kill, but they lost Dragon for that.
And they sent all 4 people down there, so Nien knows that he is alone with Bao Rose up here, and he's continually just chipping away at this top tower. Actually a good trade for CLG there. Sacrifice the Yeti for the Dragon pickup.
For the most part, this game has been 4v4 as Nintanso has just permanently rooted himself in the top lane. Right now, though, they know where he is. He's trying his best to get away. Safeguard comes up, NKInk lands the Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike chases him up, and Nien this time burns his Ghost, realizing he's in trouble.
Yeah, very early Ghost right there. Just means that Velocity are going to pull right off of that one. The cooldown on the Blade of the Ruin King active is a lot shorter than the Ghost, so he might have been able to get, a little bit greedy if he wanted to and use that one first to see if he could save the summer, but doesn't hesitate right there, and he gets out fine.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Prevent giving away more kills to your opponents. 5-1 up as we hit the 20-minute mark. 3 towers down apiece. Both teams having taken out all of the outer towers, but for the most part, we haven't seen very hard lane pushes from either of these sides. They seem to be quite content just farming up as and where they can.
CLG are about to hit their point where they're ready to start pushing, though, because they've got both of their AD carries starting to get those items. The attack speed I talked about Doublelift wanting is those Berserker Greaves plus just the Zeal even is going to give him a huge power spike. So if they put the Blood Boil on him, then they'll be just fine. Link, he's got a blue buff, he can Arcane Shift, he'll be fine.
And Vaniska's playing very, very aggressive there, moving forward, really putting himself in a position where he can land that death sentence and try pick up some kills. Doublelift, as is customary with most CLG games, is split pushing with his AD carry.
So they haven't switched it up too much here. Basically what they've done is get Niantanso to the point that he can solo top, because he is such a strong duelist right now. He can fight anyone. And they're adding on that the fed Tristana being able to get even more fed.
So Vile Rose comes into lane, takes a lot of auto attacks there from Doublelift on this mid lane. Velocity can keep up this pressure. Stand United is up, and 4 members are trying to drop down this inner turret. Nien, however, is going to get the top inner. The engagement does look like it's about to break out, but so much poke onto Chowster.
And CLG are actually okay with sacrificing this one turret because they're getting 2 lanes in trade for this.
Doublelift just sidesteps away from that Shadow Dash, manages to avoid it. Nien is now onto the inhibitor turret, so he's just keeping this pressure on. He has not left this top lane. He is taking complete control of that side of the map.
And even though NKInk has come up here, Nien can actually beat NKInk at this point. He's got a 3-level advantage, plus the Blade of the Ruin King. Meanwhile, Tristana could also beat Vile Rose, because even though Vile Rose is a solo laner, Doublelift is a level up on him.
So it's definitely working in their favor for CLG, getting both of those towers in response for just losing that single tower. And it's a strange game, the tempo of this one. They're basically trading objectives just back and forth.
Which is exactly what CLG is comfortable with doing right now. If they can keep up the 2-lane push, then they have to make Vile Rose choose where to use his Stand United. He uses Stand United to either go mid or top, then it means they're going to lose that bottom turret. And now that they have no outer turrets left, the next turret going down will be an inhibitor one, which is way too important to give up.
CLG are going to be well aware that they cannot afford to get caught out. If they manage to bait out their Stand United and the engagement goes sour, it could definitely put them in a bad position, especially considering how deep Velocity was. They got that inner turret. If the fight had broke out, they could have been on the inhibitor turret themselves.
Well, CLG have really tailored their composition for that outcome. They have the disengage from Nunu. He can blood boil his team to speed them up so they can run away as well, while slowing them with his absolute zero. And then Sona, adding on to that, a crescendo is not quite the disengage that Zyra offers, but it's almost as good.
So we do see Nien, he's got that Sunfire Cape now completed. That's his first defensive item. He's going to go very aggressive. The Blade of the Ruin King is now out on Vyro's Ignite. Is ticking over. He's just going to back away, but Nien not afraid of Shen at all.
Yeah, and he actually pops his knife for the flash right there. Pretty good trade, because Shen, one of Shen's main team fighting moves that he likes to pull off is the flash Shadow Dash to taunt multiple people. Without that, he's not that scary of a tank.
Especially if you can't, especially against a double AD comp where you really want to get all of their damage focused on yourself. We do
hard to get to the back line if you don't have that available.
Even more difficult against an Edge and a Tristana who are just going to hop away the moment they think they're in threat. In terms of CS, we do see that the numbers are now swinging heavily in favor of CLG. That early advantage that Maple Street have built up has been negated. Link is out CSing Echo's Orianna, and the top lane is still, basically 100 creep difference. It's just all going in favor of CLG Gaming.
That's because of the early Nunu keeping down Shen. Shen is not in a position to solo with Aurelia up there. If Velocity had Shen strong enough right now that he could stand in the top lane, that would be fine, because he could stop the solo Aurelia pushing, and then the rest of his team could force another 4vs5 fight, and he could just stand United back down. But because he's so weak, and he's even lower level than the enemy AD carry, there's not really much options for Velocity besides turtling at this point, and they can't grab these objectives, so CLG are just slowly increasing their gold lead by farming all 3 lanes and grabbing the free objectives.
So it's playing into Velocity's hands a little bit, because of course if they are able to at least defend, they can maybe put themselves in a position where at some point they'll be able to fight. Dragon has been started off, this time for Velocity.
So they're going to take this one. Really good positional choice right here. The steal is coming through here, but another blind effort, not going to pay off.
Not this time. We got our hopes up. Link, however, will be firing that one just a little bit shy. But another glimmer of hope here for Velocity. They're not out of it yet.
They're going to try and counter that with a red steal here, though. And Doublelift is picking up his own red at this time. So if they are able to give this one to Link, that's 2 AD carries with red buffs.
They've caught Nianton, so they picked the fight. The box is down.
4vs5!
Is the focus. The crescendo locks up 3 members of Velocity as Maple Street joins the party. Chain of Corruption locks him in place. They picked up the first kill as Nunu's going to consume, get some HP back before the final tick of Ignite drops him down. Link is retreating with those Mystic shots, and another team fight that goes in favor of Velocity.
They need to take this win, though, and back off right now. Even though they have the numbers advantage, they're too low, and they don't have the cooldowns necessary to deal with the 2 ADs with red buffs right now.
Oh, Link just gets shredded. Sonic Wave almost catches him. He's still spamming out every single Mystic shot with that red buff, with the on-hit of the Mura Mana. He's decimating Velocity's HP bar, but another team fight in favor of Velocity.
Great job by Velocity jumping on that one there. They actually banked on the fact that Doublelift was last seen in bottom lane, and they guessed that he was going for that red there, and he was trying to pick that one. So CLG getting a little bit greedy and lost a little bit of their lead, but they're still on top.
So well played there, at least engaging. And it was interesting seeing how much damage they got done in Tianton. So when they did focus him down, he didn't stand up and stay alive quite as long as CLG would be hoping for right now. And thanks to that fight, a Runic Bulwark's been picked up by NKing.
And that's really the difference in this composition and the last game where we saw Vulcan using Zac instead, who built full tank. Nian's built a little bit of offense here. That Blade of the Rune King doesn't help him that much when he's getting focused down and he's not getting his auto attacks off needed for sustain. So right there, we just showed a little bit of a weakness in this variation of the composition where Nian can just get bursted down, whereas Zac would not only be more tanky, but also have his passive to rely on.
CLG have grouped up in and around the Baron Pit. Now they're trying to get some vision superiority. We do see the death sentence lands onto Baron, and Chalster takes a shot for that one. Pretty much says, thanks, Evaniscus. Didn't really want that one. And you can definitely see that CLG are now, if not thinking about Baron, they're trying to pull Velocity towards him, trying to pull them into a situation where they can start a fight on their terms.
They would love to take advantage of some poor positioning from Velocity, because the CLG team thrives on their zoning potential. If they can actually start it out on their terms with the 5 people and Nunu on the front lines with his absolute 0 followed by Chalster's crescendo, then they could take the team fight. But Velocity have done a great job of making use of catching CLG out of position.
So Vision is going to play into favor whether or not Velocity can make that happen again, because they've had all the information to work with to make those stick in the past. Poker's going out, Phantom Dancer plus Infinity Edge sitting on Maple Street's Varus, so he's hitting particularly hard, and actually bar for that pickaxe is sitting pretty close to Doublelift as far as items and damage.
Yeah, with double AD carries, they can actually poke and get some damage onto this mid turret, whereas Velocity, trying to trade the Shen split push in the bottom lane with an Aurelia split push that will go onto your inhibitor turret is not the best of trades for them, so they have to recall that Shen, and farm up their inhibitor turret minions.
Something that is at least working into Velocity's favor. On that last siege, you see how quickly Maple Street and Echo can clear waves. We do see, though, that the Baron has been started and the CLG are all in.
This is classic CLG. They're going for the two-man sneaky Baron while the rest of the team keeps Velocity busy in the mid lane and makes them a little bit suspicious of something fishy going on here in the Baron pit.
So Evaniscus is going to stand over a ward. They know he's there. He's just put it down. Consume plus Smite's going to pick that one up. And that is a great play from CLG, realizing they had position and vision control.
They actually needed that Baron pickup for the extra regen and stats to be able to pull off a siege on an inhibitor turret of Velocity here, though. So that's exactly what they were looking for, and they need to make this time count. You can see them immediately recalling to regen their health, and then they will take up the siege.
Something that has also just been completed there for Big Fat LP is that Aegis of the Legion. Still not completed to that runic bulwark of his opponents, but it will definitely help out against all of that damage that's coming down from Orianna. Velocity very aggressive with their ward placements. And
that is the sort of trade-off that we've seen with Big Fat LP's low CS style of play. When he is on the Nunu and he wasn't getting off the ganks that he likes to get extra money from kills and assists, he's definitely behind the other jungler, but having just that Aegis of Legion completed was a huge point for them. That will add a lot of the team stats that are necessary.
Ooh, Tree Shot Barrage goes down. Double Lift using that immense range of Tristana, almost max level, so approaching the 700 unit range. Just takes down that tower very, very low. And the next creep wave, you have to feel that this might be the one CLG wants to take. They're not even waiting.
Yeah, they want to waste as little time as possible. That's why they're tanking up this turret, because Shen is split pushing this entire time, and CLG are very well aware of split pushing strategies and how much they can cost your team if you waste any moments in the game.
So Shen's deciding to recall in the bushes there. Link checking out the blue buff. It wasn't available to steal though, so he's just going to back away. CLG, they pick up their 6th tower of the game and immediately back off. It's only 3,000 gold separating these two teams. And Velocity have shown they can win team fights, but CLG are showing they have more map presence, if I can use that term.
Yeah, Velocity have shown that they can win fights that are in their favor according to the members participating. If they can get another 4 versus 3 or 5 versus 4 fight in their favor, then they might be able to pull something off. But CLG, even though they're behind 1-7, still up in the gold and still controlling the map, even with giving away another dragon.
That was a lot closer this time round. Third time the charm.
He keeps trying. He wants to make one of those YouTube videos.
Looking for a highlight reel. Second dragon of the game picked up there for Velocity, so really showing that not only do they have the timing on it and control, but they're actually not afraid of their opponents. They're willing to step out of the safety of their lanes and their towers and make plays for those objectives. So CLG's got to be a little wary of Velocity's demeanor right now. In terms of itemization, the makings of that Randian's Omen almost completed for Niantan, so his opponent already has it completed. Well,
CLG are going to return to their split pushing strategy because they have 1 minute left on this Baron, and they want to make the push while they have this power spike. They've got Double Lift with his 3 main items, and he is now that level 18, so he's got over 700 range, and they can chip down turrets. All they have to do is keep their 5 men mid. They've done a great job of pushing their Shen lane all the way back to Velocity's base, so the Shen split push is going to take a long time before CLG are going to be under pressure.
GC Stand United is available, so if CLG decide to pick any fights, or if Velocity land a good chain of corruption or death sentence, Shen is going to join the party. The minion wave is up, and here goes CLG onto the tower.
They've actually got a few more waves to slowly poke this one down and get off reach shot. They haven't actually hit this turret once, so they need to do a better job of actually getting in there, unless they're looking for a dive, a flash crescendo or something from Chowster. So Velocity, they actually have to have that in the back of their minds and not have Maple Street stand next to Echo, because those are the main two on this Velocity squad that can actually turn the team fight.
And the wave clear is really what's maybe keeping CLG a bit on the back foot, because those minions go down incredibly quickly. Velocity, they're setting themselves up for a fight that boots of mobility on Thresh, was throwing him forward, but he ate a Mystic Shot and had to slow down.
And at this point, we have the blue Ezreal build completed, so it's so much harder for Velocity to get that hard engage on the 4-man team of CLG, because they can continually have Link throw out those Mystic shots that are charged up by Iceborne Gauntlet to disengage. And now they're getting some poke onto the turret finally.
So they get a couple of auto attacks down as that minion wave just gets shredded and decimated by Echo's Orianna. From the top lane, Nien is still keeping the presence in this top lane. So if a fight breaks out, or if there's not enough minions in the mid lane, Nien's probably going to be brave enough to just walk up to the tower and start hitting it himself, because that's what he's been doing all game long.
And a side effect of Nien tanking turret hits and trying to shove that one in is that if the target has a higher health percent than Aurelia, then she's going to get the stun off. So if Nien gets himself lower than Vile Rose by tanking turret hits, then he can stun and interrupt the Shen Stand United.
So we'll see whether or not he's on point enough to actually make that stick. As right now, CLG, they still maintain this very slim 3,000 gold lead. Nien is still split pushing in the top lane. Velocity don't really have a reply for him. Vile Rose is just farming and clearing the wave as quickly as he can. Right now, Link has got a lot of damage onto Echo, and the pressure and the siege is still on.
He's getting a lot of poke, but he's not getting the turret hits. There we go. Double lift comes in. 700 range, melts that thing.
Yeah, the minute Velocity back away from the tower, they drop that one in an instant. NK Inc. is slowed down by their Mystic shot. CLG are still got their eyes set on this inhibitor, and they want to take this.
The reason that we haven't seen the action from CLG is because, like I said, their team comp is focused on disengage. They want the Velocity team to dive past Nunu.
So NK Inc. dives in forward. He gets the Tempest down. Absolute Zero starts being channeled. Orianna and Thresh are locked up. Chain of Corruption lands onto Double Lift in the background. That keeps him in place, but he manages to pick up the first kill. He's now rejoined this party. Rocket Jump should be up. Shockwave pulls both of them in. Barrier is now up. That's a double kill for Maple Street. Big Fat LP and Link turn their attention onto Vile Rose. They're putting as much hurt down as they can. Stand United wasn't even used during that fight. Double Lift flashes forward, gets a shutdown onto Echo. Now turns his attention to the inhibitor. That's 2 for 2 in terms of the trade. NK Inc. has had enough time to heal, rejoins the party, and Maple Street is carrying on with the chase.
Oh, Stand United comes in. He's going to keep this up. There goes the flash.
The Sonic Wave comes in, but he leaves Shen behind. He didn't pull Shen with him. Vile Rose misses the taunt. The Randian's Omen Slow is in. Double Lift is going to be able to rocket jump to safety. Carries on retreating. This is 3v1. NK Inc. step forward. Sonic Wave will be available. He's going to get the slowdown from the Tempest first. Double Lift gets popped. Velocity with a team fight win.
It looked like there was a little bit of miscommunication there on CLG's part. Double Lift took that team fight a little bit too relaxed. After the initial engage, he laid back by the inhibitor and he was shooting minions for that, missing out a couple key shots where he could have been doing damage to the Velocity members. And now that they've killed both AD carries, the Baron is open for Velocity. This would be a very, very dangerous contest from CLG.
Yeah, they don't have enough of their damage sources available. Nien's miles and miles away, and something that was picked up after that last engagement, Vile Rose has completed a Thorn Mail. He's got all the HP from that Sunfire Cap and Randian's Omen, and against an Irelia and Ezreal and a Tristana, is there any item that could do more work for him?
Thorn Mail, definitely a great pickup in this combo, especially against that double lift. And if you land taunt on those AD carries, you're going to be forcing them to hit you, so they'll be forced to be taking that magic damage from your Thorn Mail. I have to say that I think that CLG may have done a similar thing as Vulcan with this team composition and just picked it up because they saw it and they haven't practiced it that much, because the team fights, the way they're supposed to pull them off is force the enemy team to engage upon you and then use their disengage, which they did, but then they were disconnected in the follow-up there. Double Lift not shooting the targets here that Link was going for. A lot of their damage was unfocused and they weren't able to take down the Velocity members, which made them pay for it in the end. Just a little bit sloppy there in the team fight execution, and Velocity are coming back strong.
Yeah, so they've definitely grouped up in this mid lane. Stand United will be available in the not too distant future. They've grouped up as 5.
And Velocity, just remember, they have half of their wins off this CLG team.
So we'll see if they can double their victories against CLG. NK takes a lot of poke before he's forced to safeguard to safety, but they get a lot of damage on this tower on one creep wave, what took CLG a long time to do.
Exactly. They've got Baron buff, and they, on the other hand, are fearless with using it. They can send in the Orianna Ball on top of Vile Rose to combo the Shadow Dash with a Shockwave and get it on the high priority targets. If they can lock down Choster and Double Lift, or even Link, even though he's very slippery right now, then they can easily turn this one.
So this is definitely doubly important because those super minions are pouring down the mid lane. So not only is Velocity keeping this pressure up, they're defending their base. Death Sentence goes up so close to double it, doesn't land this time around. And K-Ink is getting on this turret. He's face tanking it. They're getting some damage done, but Maple Street is not hitting the damn tower.
You've got to pay attention to not only Maple Street, but also the support and auto attacks there. They do take this turret down.
The Death Sentence catches onto Link. The Flay pulls him backwards. The box is in position. Vile Rose goes all the way forward. The first kill is onto Link. Now they drop down Nien. That's 2 members down already. They're jumping onto the inhibitor. This is going to be the first inhibitor of the game for Velocity, and it's so close right now.
Velocity answer back, but look, there's a minion wave on their doorstep right now. The bottom lane, somebody would want to get back to clear that one up, so they don't want to waste any time, even though they have the 5 versus 3 advantage. And it looks like, yeah, they want to grab more out of this. So not even sending back one person. So you could make the call to send Shen back at this point because his Stand United's available. But they're just going to go for this turret first.
They're face tanking the turret up. They're going to secure their 6th tower of the game. They're only 1 behind their opponents. And that massive minion wave in the bottom lane is doing so much work.
There we go.
It's very, very close to actually picking up that tower. But the rest of the team is keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, so they make the call. They're sending Shen back to deal with the minion wave. And the rest of the team actually is going to get scared after he's left their side. So they'll return. They don't want to bite off more than they can chew right now. They just got a lot of gold from that last series of events. And they want to turn that into combat effective stats here. Purchasing those items.
Every single one of them is spending over about 1,200 gold apiece. Guardian Angel picked up there for Maple Street. So if anybody does jump on top of him, he'll have that second lease on life to come back and try to put the herd down. But Velocity, they've won every single team fight this game, albeit there haven't been many, but they have convincingly been in control of those engagements.
The early team fights catching CLG off balance weren't that huge of a deal because it was kind of expected for Velocity to get at least one 4 vs 5 situation running Shen like that. It did pay off, but really what cost them was that fight at the inhibitor in the mid lane without even a turret standing. Just a little bit sort of lazy team fighting from CLG completely cost them. And now the heat is on. They can't afford to be messing around and wasting any more time because, like I said, that Guardian Angel on Maple Street is going to be huge.
We'll see how well CLG can focus in these upcoming team fights. That's really what costed them. And in terms of the gameplay, it's actually a position CLG's been in many times before with the split pushing. And as you get to the late game, they lose control of the map, and all of a sudden the split-pushing team can't split-push. So it's trying to find a way to get CLG and their comp back into this matchup.
Well, yeah, we always talk about how CLG love the late games, and most of their games do go over this 40-minute mark. So I guess it's just typical of them not ending it early and wanting to take it and not disappoint the fans. Go the distance here.
As something we have to give props to as well, Velocity are looking much better with Valrose in the top lane, Echo in the mid lane, than what we've really seen of them for the majority of this. But they've had some good games at some moments, but the plays they're making, they're not afraid of their opponents, as you can see right now, stacked up in this bottom lane.
Yeah, you've got to shout out the Orianna ultimates from Echo. Those have been game-changing. In their first 4 vs 5 fight, he hit a 4-man shockwave to keep CLG in position. And even with all of the peel, all of the disengage that CLG have, they weren't able to get out of that one.
So they managed to pick themselves up another tower now, equaling the towers with CLG. They actually take a gold lead thanks to all the farm and the ejectors they've picked up in the last couple of minutes, and they're still keeping this pressure up. Shen, with this Stand United available, is left alone in that top lane, and now it's CLG that need to respond to their opponent's top lane's pressure.
And Vile Rose actually has a global ability that he can just pops that Stand United and immediately join his team. So if it comes down to the split pushing game, Velocity are definitely the ones with the upper hand here.
You see Valrose, he even picked himself up a Sheen that sniffed away from under my nose, probably working himself towards that Trinity Force, getting himself some damage now as well, so maybe even looking to trade and duel with Nyantanso if the event comes to pass.
Exactly. He's trying to finally get to the stage where he can actually handle that split pushing battle.
Red buff stolen away, Velocity securing their possibly first steal of the game, really. They haven't spent much time in CLG's jungle at all up until the last couple of minutes, but now they've got free reign on it. They've got their opponent's inhibitor down.
Oh, yeah.
Baron buff has just worn off a little while ago, and is about to respawn as Valrose tries to get away to safety. Crescendo misses!
The early flash, Crescendo does have a short cast time, though. So if you just start that one off, then it makes you look a little bit late. We'll give it to him there. Not too bad.
Valro's flash is burned, however, so that flash taunt we're talking about not going to be available for the upcoming fights. Baron has respawned, and you can see CLG have had won this game, Velocity have had won this game, and that's probably going to be the next big point of contention for both of these teams.
And all Velocity have to do right now is threaten to do the Baron, because they're the ones with the Shen, so they can have him at the bottom split pushing while they just pretend like they're doing Baron. Oh, Evaniscus actually leashes it.
So they snuck themselves in. They were
Whoopsies.
trying to hide there, and that didn't work out at all.
Do not provoke the Baron. He will hit you. And now they are actually going for it. Because they saw him come out, they can take this one. All that has to happen now is Shen pull back and not get caught.
Look at how many wards that Velocity have around that part of the map. There are millions of little red dots. They did not want to get snuck up on at all, and they secure themselves a second Baron of the game.
Yeah, so, you know, good call by Evaniscus. He saw that one coming. CLG backed off, and they actually go with the Baron rush down. So now we're at the exact same position we were 2 minutes ago, except Baron on this Velocity team. So now we could see them with the confidence to actually get in and damage the turret.
Inhibitors respawned in that mid lane, so Velocity, realizing there's no tower there, they're going to keep themselves poised up. All 5 members of CLG were stacked in the top lane just before Niantanto, with that GA, is now backing to the bottom lane. He needs to deal with Valrose because Valrose is getting free damage on the tower.
Exactly, and having Niantanto away from the fight at the beginning is huge, whereas Valrose can actually add the shield in. So Nian might want to do something tricky there and get his health low so that he could pull off a stun, and then have CLG do a 4 versus 5 thing, relying on the Crescendo as disengage. Really, we're going to have to keep the eyes on the priority targets that Chaucer's Crescendo does hit.
Crescendo is available, as is Chaucer's flash, if he wanted to go for that route. The Dark Passage was thrown out by Evaniscus for vision. You see Maple Street throwing out those piercing arrows, and they're trying to set up.
And it's something that I have to note, with the changes that Velocity have made, people are guessing a lot. They've brought Valrose back on the team. We can hear him in the studio now yelling, so they have their shot caller back, and that's crucial at these points in the team fight.
The game is so tense now, it's resting on a knife edge. True Shot Barrage goes out and hits minions, doesn't connect with any champions at all.
Valrose down bottom.
That's a flash Crescendo. Double Lift tries to put some damage down. The box is up. Stand Unite is being channeled onto Echo in the back line, as well as that Chain of Corruption going down. Nothing happens after all the ultimates are blown.
The flash Crescendo does get Stand United off the table. So a little bit itchy trigger finger there. Means that all the pressure's gone. Chaucer actually came out with a great play right there. He forced Valrose to use his move and take that pressure off of the bottom and hit a turret.
Against a Baron buff Velocity team alleviate that presence, alleviate the standoff that was happening in that top lane. Velocity now back away. Baron buff is ticking away, and you know, you got to give credit to Chaucer. He's at least put a pause on that play for the tower.
Yeah, it was a very risky play right there, but it definitely paid off. And you could see after he did it, they just backed right off and allowed Big Fat LP to channel his absolute zero and scare Velocity. So the Shen Stand United coming in at the back of the team really paid off for CLG and bought them time to get more money on these double AD carries and try and scale up, while also simultaneously wasting another minute of that Baron buff. So now they've only got a quarter left on that thing, and Velocity need to make their move at this open inhibitor, because no tower means they will actually want to take this fight.
Something that's crucial to note as well, both of these teams gold, 70,000 or thereabouts, and it's actually even across the board for the numbers with the exception of NK Inc. He's actually ahead of his opponent, considering how the early game went. Got to give props to Velocity. They're now stacking up on the inhibitor. 5-man pressure is on, and CLG not looking like they can really contest. Crescendo has just become available though.
They're trying to get the poke in before they do go with the engage, because they're buying time for Crescendo to come back up. Now it's up.
So if inhibitor does drop, and you see the lantern being used, they pull out. Velocity are trying to get to safety, and CLG not really able to jump in, with the exception of Irelia and the Flash Crescendo. They don't have engaging tools.
I hope you guys are in for the long haul here, because this is classic CLG. They didn't want to go for the hard engage there because the Baron buff was still lasting there on Velocity. So another 30 seconds, that thing will run out, and they won't have to fight, or another 3 seconds, that'll run out. They won't have to fight with the extra stats, but the gold back now in Velocity's favor, and it's CLG who are going to have to answer an inhibitor down.
Doublelift has hit that 6-item build, as has Maple Street. Both of them running the Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster, Last Whisper. But the difference in defensive items, Doublelift deciding to go for that Mercurial Scimitar, so damage and that mini cleanse, as opposed to the GA from Maple Street. We haven't seen that GA be super important in any of these team fights, but we haven't seen a big team fight. It's the game-winning fight that is pretty much going to be the next engagement.
Mini cleanse. That thing's actually, I even prefer to have that over cleanse because you can get a lot of other stuff off of it. But it does give Doublelift another answer if he does get locked down. And he's really just relying on his lifesteal. He doesn't want to have a defensive item like a Frozen Mallet or something like he's gotten before. He's relying on being able to get off his auto attacks by cleansing off the CC and continuing to lifesteal up through the fight. That's pretty much the only defense that he's looking for. That, comboed with his positioning on Trist, should allow him to stay alive.
And talking about positioning, he's pushing up that top lane, farming it out as best as he can. File Rose looking for him, but not able to find him out just yet. Veniscus and NK Inc., they've managed to actually get a minion wave up to the tower. They get one auto attack off onto it before Maple Street and Echo join. Stand United is available, so the siege is on once more. Velocity looking to take yet another tower.
CLG actually have a good amount of time on that Shen split push, though, because Valrose was so wary of engaging Doublelift, as he should be solo. It took a while to get up to the minion wave, so it's going to take him some time to push down and actually get back to the turret. And during that time, Velocity are just going to try and chip away.
They're doing
We have
pretty
a
well.
little bit more waiting in store for you guys.
A little bit more, but the next fight that does happen is going to be explosive. With this amount of damage and items across the board, whatever does happen will be very big. The Death Sentence goes out, it goes awry, doesn't connect to anybody, but that's a lot of damage from Echo. Command Attack and Dissonance shredding CLG.
Most important part. Oh, here we go. There's the hard engage.
Sneer Tonto dives for it. Crescendo locks up too, but Maple Street, crucially, has been left untouched. He's focusing down onto Big Fat LP. Nunu is going to be the first one. Actually, it's Sona in the background that gets dropped. Evaniscus dives onto Doublelift and Link. They're trading kills back and forth, back and forth. A 2 for 2 so far, but with Link and Doublelift being forced out, that's Tristana down. Doublelift is down. Maple Street has 100% of his hit points. Near Tonto sneaks around the backline. He closes one out onto Echo before Maple Street closes up. That's a quadra kill for the odd bro. Maple Street with double buffs on now dives into the inhibitor turret. That's turret number 8.
Maple Street looking to carry this one through to the second win against CLG, doubling Velocity's win against this team. And that was because CLG went with their CC, focused on Echo because Echo didn't have a Guardian Angel. They wanted to take him out, and they took too long in doing it. Now they're on the Nexus.
They're on the Nexus. They're going to pick us one up. Velocity pick up their third victory of this split after their second substitution. Vile Rose moved to the top lane, Echo in the mid lane, and Maple Street just bringing the pain.